Hi, yeah, it's Jackie from the LGFA here, and we're back. Our first recorded show of the new year, I believe, 2022. It is hard to believe it, but here we are, and we're looking ahead to two currentaccount.ie All-Ireland Senior Championship Club semi-finals next Sunday. Two cracking games in Prospect. Mourneabbey, the holders, welcome Dunboyne from Meath at 1 p.m. in Clyde Rovers, the Mourneabbey Community Centre. Ger will clarify that for me, and then the other game is Kilkerrin-Clonberne from Galway. 2019 runners-up, and they welcome five-time winners Donaghmoyne from Monaghan to Galway for what promises to be an intriguing encounter. My guests today, ladies and gentlemen, top left-hand side of my screen is Stephen Glennon as I look, and he's the editor of the Tuam Herald in Galway, former Galway ladies football team manager as well. Bottom left is Ger McCarthy, renowned journalist, broadcast and print from County Cork, indeed, former LGFA journalist of the year. Paul Garrigan is coach, and bottom right of my screen of the victorious Meath ladies senior footballers from 2021. Ger won't want reminding of that. And Fergal Monaghan, top right hand side of my screen, last but not least, from Northern Sound, local reporter for the radio station in that neck of the woods. You'll be down looking after the Donaghmoyne, looking at Donaghmoyne on Sunday as they go to Kilkerrin-Clonberne. So, gents, thanks a million for coming on today. How are we all?
All good now, thanks, Jackie.
Good. I'm going to start with your good self, Stephen. So, as we mentioned in the intro there, Kilkerrin-Clonberne runners-up in 2019, and by the looks of things, they want to go one step further.
Yeah, definitely. That was a cracking All-Ireland final. You probably just felt on that day against Mourneabbey that they just were lacking that little bit of physical strength, and maybe even just a little bit off in terms of their team play. Not that it was disjointed. They caught a couple of injuries during the game as well, Nicola Ward, and they just couldn't get it over the line. But since then, all right, yeah, they've been really impressive in the local club championship. And I know it was on before the Galway final, and I was saying Galway were going to have a good rattle at them, but it obviously got the backs of Kilkerrin-Clonberne up because they wiped them away, particularly in the second half. Galway didn't even get a score. Yeah, they're a team on a mission. Like, they make no bones that this is what they really want. They want an All-Ireland title to establish themselves as the top team. Not only in Galway but in the west of Ireland, but around the country. So yeah, if they can get over the line, it's going to be a big thing. But certainly the way they're playing at the moment, that they've been hugely impressive, and we've seen that right through Connacht. The only thing, Jackie, I think is the big thing is that have they got enough tests? I don't think they have, and I think that leaves them a little bit vulnerable going in to the semi-final.
Yeah, and they're up against streetwise opposition. Fergal Monaghan, I'll bring you in on this. Donaghmoyne, of course, have been around the block, winners 5 times of this competition. And, you know, I guess going through the Monaghan Championship, they just about did enough, but they're after exploding in the Ulster Championship. They've just obliterated teams on their way to win that provincial. Okay, Breda took them to a replay, but it was never in doubt second time around.
Yeah, there's a rumour going around about Donaghmoyne that maybe they've gone to the well too many times. Getting out of the Monaghan Championship, I mean, 19 county titles in a row in Monaghan. It's phenomenal, and when you say it out loud, it is crazy. But they only beat Emmyvale 9-8 in the semi-final, and they went to extra time in that county final, and they did splutter a little bit. It went to a replay because of the fix, you know, the game darkness, whatever, and they just got off. But in the second game against Breda in the county final or the Ulster final, they were phenomenal, and they put the game to bed very, very early. They even afforded to miss a penalty, and they hit the crossbar and post about 6 times as well. But like, Donaghmoyne, the great thing about this game coming up on Sunday, and I can't wait for it, I'm really looking forward, is that both teams, there's no inferiority complex here. Both heavyweights going at this because, you know, they have real aspirations to go the whole way. Donaghmoyne have won the All-Ireland 5 times. 2016 was the last time. They come up against Mourneabbey, the team that took out Kilkerrin-Clonberne as well in 2019. So, like, I mean, they've been in 17, I think, Ulster finals in a row as well. So they're established. Francie Coleman, the manager as well, coming up against another wily manager in Willie Ward as well. The matchups for this game are phenomenal, really, even from the sideline point of view, but on the field as well. Really looking forward to it. Unlike Donaghmoyne have been tested, they've gone to extra time twice in their own championship and in the Ulster final. And like you can look at that as a negative, maybe that they're not as good or not as proficient as they were in front of goal. But on the other hand, Kilkerrin-Clonberne, they've wiped teams away in the Connacht Championship. In 3-22, 4-22. You know, they were tested in the first half against Glencairn, Manor Hamilton, but they blew them away in the second half as well. And it was alluded to there by Stephen. Have they been tested enough? Donaghmoyne certainly have been tested enough. And I was listening to Willie Ward during the week talking about Donaghmoyne, you know, the spine of the team, the Courtneys. And Cora Courtney, she's been around so long. She's just so fluent as a footballer, such a playmaker. And I know she's going to be in for very close attention, certainly on Sunday, because you know, she will be targeted as the thing that makes, the player that makes Donaghmoyne tick a little bit. But not to say they have loads of other options as well, but there's a real battleground in that diamond between the four, the centre back, centre forward, and two midfielders. I'm really looking forward to that battle with Cora Courtney and Amanda Finnegan in the middle of the field, coming up against Hannah Noon and Siobhan Deverley, and then Nicola Ward against Rosemary Courtney. That should be a cracking battle. And Louise Ward against Sharon Courtney. But like Louise Ward is such a big player for Kilkerrin, because when she went off with a shoulder injury in the county final, really struggled a little bit against Clare Galway. So there's battles all around. It's a really intriguing battle. Can't wait for it.
I tell you what, they've their homework done, haven't they, Stephen?
Yeah,
They've a fair insight into what lies in store on Sunday. Great stuff, Fergal. I'll go down to the game that's happening down in Cork, which is Mourneabbey against Dunboyne. And Paul Garrigan, you obviously realise what momentum can do and how it can become an unstoppable force. And do you think what was achieved with Meath has played a part in Dunboyne's odyssey and getting this far now? You know, obviously with the few players that were involved in that, there's absolutely no fear, and they've just bounced into the club championship and taken all before them.
Yeah, I suppose there's a little bit of that. I suppose, you know, after the success with Meath and you go back to your club and you go on a bit of a run, you know, of course you're going to get that little bit of a spin off. But I suppose, I don't know if a lot of people be aware, but Dunboyne have actually came through the last couple of years a kind of a pathway. So like they won the Junior All Ireland, they've won the Intermediate All Ireland, and now they're plying their trade up at senior level, and are after winning their first senior club, Leinster Provincial. So they've come on a pretty, you know, they've served their apprenticeship really through the grades now, and now they're probably facing one of their biggest tests everywhere, since I suppose since they've come into the provincials, when they're playing Mourneabbey. Obviously 7 in a row Munster champions, you know, and it hasn't been easy for Dunboyne this year. Like they got out by the skin of their teeth down here in Wicklow against Tinahely after extra time in a really, really good game and in Tinahely. So they came through it the hard way, and they were impressive against Foxrock. But I've watched the Mourneabbey games on the stream, and I've been really, really impressed with them. Like you talk about Vicky Wall and Emma Duggan, but you know, the likes of Darren O'Sullivan, Ciara O'Sullivan, Breed O'Sullivan, Emer Meany, and I've really been impressed with Maria O'Callaghan, who really is kind of an unsung hero. She's nearly like the heart of this Mourneabbey team, and I've been really impressed with her. And the match that I was really impressed in was against Ballinaccarby, who have won so many titles in Waterford and are no mugs in relation to club football. And I was so impressed with their second half performance against them, and they're racking up serious scores, and conceding very little. So you're talking about 4-12, 4-10, and conceding around 1-5 a game, compared to, you know, Dunboyne, who are conceding a good bit more. So it's a real big ask at Dunboyne. Yes, they're well balanced, and the Vicky Walls and the Duggans and the Sullivans will do their jobs, but I suppose in the corners and in the wings and stuff like that, it's to me who'll win them battles, and that if whoever wins them battles is probably going to get in top. And like even Laura Fitzgerald there has scored a hat-trick in both games. So you're really dependent on how the Fiona O'Neills and the Laura Fitzgeralds do, in my opinion, on who can get over the line. But it's an intriguing battle, but I think Mourneabbey would be favourites with me.
Okay, Paul, no, it's good analysis there. I mean, Ger, like Paul mentioned, so many players there, clutch players. I mean, Laura Fitz is a clutch player. I mean, you only have to go back to that All-Ireland final a couple of years ago and how Mourneabbey worked that score, starting with Noelle Healy from deep and ending up with Laura slotting it over the bar with only seconds left on the watch. So they can hammer you, or they can just have a controlled performance and just get over the line. They're a really seasoned outfit, and after so much heartbreak and finally breaking through and winning on All Ireland and doing it again, they must have just absolute composure and belief in what they're doing, Ger.
Yeah, I mean that's a good summation of it, Jackie. What Mourneabbey are this year, though, different to previous years, is they are greater than the sum of their whole parts. And what I mean by that is there would have been an over-reliance on Darren O'Sullivan and Kieran O'Sullivan for scores in previous championships. That's no longer the case because, as Paul alluded to there, Laura Fitzgerald has drawn a lot of headlines for the 2 hat-tricks in the Munster Championship run, but it's her overall play and it's her link-up play that's made her stand out. But then you add to that young players like Ellie Jack, you add the 2 Coakleys, Catherine and Emma Coakley. The return of Roisin O'Sullivan from long-term injury is a huge moment for Mourneabbey, and they were delighted to have her back. Breed O'Sullivan is fit. Ciara O'Sullivan is fit, having shaken off injuries from when they won the county championship this year by beating Éire Óg in a game that was played at Páirc Uí Chaoimh under lights for the first time, which was a huge moment for ladies football, not just in Cork, but outside of it as well. But from speaking to Shane Ronayne and interviewing the players, what's different is that they are as focused and as laser focused as anyone of the last 4. They want to win in All Ireland. And the great thing about this year's championship, Jackie, is I think the 4 best teams are left in it. Now I don't know enough about the rest of the country to tell you whether that's true or not, but from reading the reports and watching the streams, 4 of the top teams are there now, and that's great for ladies football because it's a bumper. It's real heavyweight semi-finals. The thing about Shane Ronayne and the thing about Mourneabbey this year that makes them a little bit more different, they've been concentrating on turnovers. And the one thing is the Ballymacarbery game that Paul alluded to there was really a non-event after 15 minutes, unfortunately, because they built such an early lead, but they turned Ballymacarbery over so many times in defence. Their tackling has improved immensely since this time last year. I can tell you that from being to all their games. They've worked on it very, very hard. Moral Callan, as you mentioned, as well as another player, correctly, who's having a fantastic season. But you can't pick one player out. And that's the difference at Mourneabbey this year. When Doireann is closely marked or Ciara is being double marked, which has happened in a couple of the Munster Championship games, Ellie Jack has shown up, Laura Fitzgerald has shown up, the Coakleys, and the other 2 O'Sullivans, Breed O'Sullivan, who doesn't get a lot of headlines, but does a huge amount of work. So they are primed, absolutely primed, and make no mistake about it. They were very, very disappointed and angry to lose their Cork County Senior Championship 2 years ago to West Cork. They have bounced back. And I think a lot of players, even though they're experienced and pushing on with the greatest respect to them, it's the players that are coming through are coming through at just the right time. And who better than Shane Ronayne to have, be sprinkling in those players at the right time. It's not an easy thing to do, especially in such a competitive environment. For this weekend's game, I would say that home advantage is the reason I think it's going to swing it in Mourneabbey's favour. But make no mistake about it, from speaking to the players, and I spoke to the 2 Coakleys this week and I spoke to Shane Ronayne, the respect they have for Dunboyne and the respect they have for Meath football after what happened last year. Not just what happened last year, by the way, but the fact that Meath won an intermediate All-Ireland before that and have been coming for a couple of years. And it's the same with Dunboyne. It was interesting, Paul's comments there about the fact that they've earned this right to get here to Dunboyne, and they'll want to show that they belong at the senior, at this business end of the championship. It's going to be a fascinating battle. I don't know how the teams are going to match up, and that's going to be very interesting how they match up when the match starts. But because it's at home, because it's at the community centre pitch, Mourneabbey, which is also Clyde's home pitch, because it's there and because they've won difficult games against Aherlow and difficult games against the Banner earlier in the season, I think they're battle hardened and they're seasoned. If it was up in Meath, I'd give Dunboyne. I'd actually nod it to Dunboyne because I think home advantage is huge at this time of the season because the pitches are heavy, even though the pitch is very good down in Mourneabbey. The fact that they've won there and won well there in recent games, I think that's a huge advantage. I'm looking forward to it immensely. I can't wait for it, much like the other semi-final. I think it is the biggest test of the year for Mourneabbey. They accept that, and I'm sure Dunboyne think the same. And there is a huge amount of respect there. And I'm not just saying that, Jackie, just because Paul's on the call. They do have an awful lot of respect for Meath football. They have an awful lot of respect for Dunboyne. But Mourneabbey have one target, and one target only, and that's that All-Ireland title. And they want it very, very badly. And compared to 12, 24 months ago, they have a fresh bill of health. And they have a lot of new weapons that they can use, and that makes them even more dangerous.
Interesting. Yeah, I tell you. So Paul reckons that it's Mourneabbey are favourites. Jerry, you're obviously putting Mourneabbey down as favourites. That'll be music to Dunboyne's ears. Anybody tuning in here, so it should be an interesting semi-final on Sunday. Stephen and Jerry's alluded to it there. He reckons the four best club teams in the country are here. and 3 of the 4 were semi-finalists 2 years ago. Fox Cab being the outlier and the exception. It's a remarkable achievement to get back to. Obviously COVID unfortunately ruled out an entire season, but to get back and keep that hunger and that motivation alive, and to get back to the last 4 of the All-Ireland series for 3 of those 4 teams is remarkable consistency and a great achievement.
Yeah, well, I think if Mourneabbey bring Ger's enthusiasm anyway on Sunday, they're home and hosed. That's the worst thing. Yeah, sure. Listen, you spoke about there, like the likes of Donaghmoyne and Kilkerrin-Clonberne. Ger talked about the hurt that Mourneabbey had of losing to West Cork. Like, that is a big thing for serial winners. When they're defeated, they really use that. They can knock 3, 4, 5 years out of that hurt, so they can, to keep driving them on. Kilkerrin-Clonberne have that, and Donaghmoyne, I imagine, would have that as well. I think big thing will be home advantage this time around, because COVID has played hell with logistics. I don't know how Donaghmoyne are going to get up on Sunday morning and try and plan their day to get everything just right. Where can they stop? Where do they take their stops for breaks? All that sort of thing. How do they plan it? Willie Ward said himself, like, when the ball's thrown in, it won't make much of a difference. The 2 teams that go at it. But just to get there, for them, it's just a matter of getting up on Sunday morning and rocking down to the local pitch. For Donaghmoyne, it's a little bit more arduous. So I think that's going to be the same as well in the other semi-final. So I'd imagine. You'd imagine that the teams that are at home will have a slight advantage, maybe get out of the blocks a little bit quicker.
Is that really important, Stephen? Obviously, you've been at the coalface, or if you're on the opposition and you're on a road trip, there's that sense of excitement and the crack on the bus and that, or whatever way you're travelling. Or does that really count? The travel will obviously be a drain for the visiting team. It's just that bit of more familiarity for the home team, you reckon, is a big advantage?
Yeah, a little bit, but you know what, the whole COVID thing as well has just thrown teams off. Like, it's very hard for a manager to get his head around. Are the players travelling by car? I don't know what the story is with buses this weather. Yeah. But if they're travelling down by cars, you don't get that camaraderie that you get on the bus, where everybody's playing music and slagging each other off, and there's a bit of banter. And it just puts a little bit more pressure. Like, I remember last year, a lot of the players talking about, arriving too early and having to sit in cars and waiting and trying to keep the heat on and all that sort of thing. But yeah, I do think will have some bearing. How the extent of it, I don't really know. What I do know is that you've got 2 really well-drilled teams turning up in Clonberne on Sunday, and 2 teams that know there's an opportunity there to play in an All-Ireland final. And if they get there, they'll have that confidence and belief no more than Mourneabbey that they can get over the line, because I said serial winners, and hurt does that for you.
Yeah, it's incredible. And Ger, I might come back to you on this one in a little while. I think one of the secrets of Cork bouncing back and winning multiple titles in a row again was they lost an All-Ireland quarter-final against Tyrone in 2010. And they referenced it so many times in the decade that followed. Never mind the few years that followed. The decade that followed was a real watershed moment for them. Fergal, back to your good self, Fergal Monaghan, a new manager in situ. Just to get your thoughts on this, in Monaghan, the new ladies senior football team manager is a guy called Kieran Kearns. Now, obviously, look, Monaghan have had a long tradition of great success. Maybe in recent years it's dipped a little bit, and maybe we're in a transitional phase, but still some really, really good footballers in Monaghan, as evidenced by the club scene. Fergal, tell us a little bit about Kieran and what he's going to bring to the table.
Well, Kieran, he doesn't actually have that much experience with ladies football. He played his football with the Curran club and Clonus club in Monaghan. He's brought on board Declan McKiernan. I don't know if you remember, Declan played with Monaghan in the late 90s, early noughties. He's a full forward, a Clonus man. He's Porrick Smith and Darren Chapman. Darren's he's from a man from Newtown Butley. He's a coach, a renowned coach himself. He'll be the eye in the stand, so to speak. And Shane Rice, a Scottstown man, who's a strength and conditioning coach. Going to bring in professionalism, and the Monaghan are very lucky to have like Combi Lift on board as well, a really good sponsor. So there's a real element of professionalism. It's what the ladies, Monaghan ladies, and I suppose all the county ladies teams demand now, that professionalism, that setup that they can go into. Look, we're an optimistic group of people up here in Monaghan. You have to be, because look, I think there's 11 confirmed retirements or people who are not going to be available, players not available for Monaghan in the coming year. So it's a big challenge, but there's also an opportunity there. Like Monaghan won the minor and under 16 Ulster championships this year. A lot of young players coming through. And of course, once you're finishing minor, you're straight into senior level in ladies football. So like we have a lot of good players coming through, but there is like Ellen McCarron's going to be stepping away. Probably Kieran McCarthy has walked away, has retired. What a career she had. Aoife is gone as well. Cork is going to be taken. She's going to be out for the year as well. And Laura McEnany won't be there. So I can name. But on the plus side, we have some really good young players coming on. Aoife Borden, she'll probably be playing against Kilkerrin-Clonberne. She's a forward, minor player of the year in Monaghan. She's there. Emer Trainer will be there as well. Some really good young players, and we have some established players still there, like Muireann Atkinson and stuff. So I think it's a real opportunity for Kieran. It's a challenge, but Monaghan are playing in Division 2, and that's not with no disrespect. I think it's a good opportunity. If they were in Division 1, it would be a very daunting task for all these new players to be blooded, playing at such a level. But I think it won't be easy, but it's a very a challenge that they can rise to stay in Division 2 and try and stay in senior ranks, because it's a long term, it's a 3-year plan for Monaghan now to build an established team, and the players know that. They're going to step in, and Kieran is going to bring that. You're stepping into an environment here, and it's not going to be immediate, but they're going to build a team with longevity, give youth its chance, combine it with the established players that are already there. It is going to be a challenge, and the county board and the Monaghan powers that be are aware of this, but it's an exciting time for Monaghan as well, because they have some great players coming through, and it's an opportunity to blood them, and they have to blood them because it's not ideal. There's no point pretending it's ideal when you have a glut of very experienced players finishing at the one time. We've seen that in other sports and other teams. It can be detrimental, but at the same time, I think Monaghan have enough there, and they have a match coming up against Cavan in Division 2 in February, which would be that's a massive game for Monaghan, because you win that one and you have a real great opportunity of staying up in Division 2 as well for Monaghan, and that's probably where they want to be, and try and stay at senior level as well. That's probably where they want to be, because that's what Kieran's up for. He's going to bring a professionalism. And of course, Declan Kieran, a great coach. He was with 2014. He was with the under-21 Monaghan team that won Ulster as well. So, they have a good setup. They have great young players coming through. They've carried them across. Some young players coming in from there as well. They won the junior, Ulster Junior. They're in the All-Ireland Junior semi-final. Monaghan football's in a good place, but it's in a transition. And I think we have to accept that. But this is a really interesting year coming up, Jackie. Definitely. Can't wait for it.
We'll keep a close eye on him. Kieran McCarthy, of course, retired recently. Wonderful player down through the years for Monaghan, will be sorely missed. Paul, how are things in Meath? I mean, you only finished up there before Christmas with the underdogs. I presume you had a few sociables and reflected on your achievements over the festive season. We did a piece with you, and thanks for your time, for Pell magazine there recently as well. Did you sit down on Stephen's Day and take out a copy of the game? Did you watch the final back?
I did, Jackie. I went out Stephen's Day and the next day and the day after, and it's safely now in the bank, and I won't watch it again maybe till next year or the year after or whatever. But yeah, no, with we enjoyed it over Christmas, and the girls were away on holidays, so they're only actually back there last week. So it's all hands on deck now for 2022, I suppose. When you look at the Brendan Martin now, there's no name on that Brendan Martin Cup for 2022. So we have to get back and start working really hard and getting prepared for the season ahead, because the way it's set out this year, it's very quick. Like the league is like it's happening nearly in 4 weeks, and then with the league split into 2 groups, it comes on you really quick, and the season is over basically in July if you're getting to the business end of the championship. So you don't get that much of a break, and you've got to reset and get ready to go again. So yeah, we're back, and we're starting to play challenge games next week. So looking forward to the challenge ahead.
You're in with Cork and Dublin, same group, which should be interesting. Waterford are in there as well, obviously.
Yeah, really tough group. Like we have Cork, and Dublin, obviously, they'll be gunning for us, and then Waterford, who we've played in challenge matches, and there's never anything in it, and that's down in Field as well. A nice place to be going, like to try and win a match, and probably be raining and something like that on top of that. So it'll make it even more difficult, But yeah, listen, we're delighted to be in Division 1. Like, people, mightn't remember, but this is our first year actually in Division 1 as well. So we're under no illusions how difficult that's going to be, and we want to stay there. So no different as Fergal was saying with Monaghan. Our challenge now is to stay in that Division 1 and keep in it, and not go out. And just to go back to Fergal's point, I was at a minor game a couple of years ago where Monaghan beat Meath, where a lot of our players that played on the All-Ireland final day were playing, and Monaghan beat them. And even Louise Curley there, who is actually playing fantastic as well. For Donaghmoyne, she's a really good juvenile player that has come up through the system. So I know that based on the numbers they're losing on transition, but they've really good players coming through, young players.
Having the Garlands as well, Fergal, are two cracking players as well. So Donaghmoyne and Monaghan, the future very much bright. Ger, just looking at the clock, we've taken up enough of your time. Ger, just to wrap it up with your good self, and I asked Shane this before. He's been on a couple of times with us. He's obviously looking after Mourneabbey, and he's gone in with Cork as well for the year ahead. I don't understand where he gets the time to do everything and hold down a full-time job just in the road for me here in Care. But I get the sense that this could be a very, very good appointment for Cork. Ger, would you concur?
Oh, absolutely. Shane, the fact that Shane worked under the late Eamon Ryan and was there when Cork were successful, and the fact that he also managed Mourneabbey to success while looking after Tipperary ladies footballers as well. Don't forget that. Yeah. I asked him about this very question. It's a good question to ask. How do you juggle the two jobs? I think the fact that the split season has come in is a huge bonus for him. That his focus right now is on Mourneabbey, even though Cork are gearing up for the National League. The focus right now is get through Munster, then get through let's see, can we get through the All Ireland? So the one thing he's learned, he might have taken up from Efi Fitzgerald in the previous role, was delegation. He's got a very wide, very diverse management team underneath him this year. It's all brand new, which is new for Cork as well. And we still we expect the core of the last year's squad to be involved, but there are some new players coming in that we still don't know about. Things have been very much in-house at the moment. It'd be intriguing to see what way he goes in the National League. He's already stated to me in interviews that he wants to blood new players in the National League. Obviously, he wants to do well in the National League as best as he possibly can, but I think he will experiment where he can. But as Paul made a very good point there about the National League, as soon as you start the National League, bang, you're straight into it. Are you telling me that Cork won't put out a strong team against Meath and Dublin? And rightfully, another team in transition, but one to keep your eye on over the next 2 years on and off the pitch, are Waterford. It was only last year, the year before, we were down in Field, just like you said. It was a lovely day, thankfully. But Waterford really put it up to Cork that day for 3/4 of it. This is a young team with legs, and they're getting better. And I think, just if I might say, one of the best things about Meath winning the All-Ireland last year, it's given counties outside of Cork and Dublin hope.
Absolutely.
And if you get it right off the pitch. And another thing I just wanted to take the opportunity to say, this was no fairy tale. I keep hearing that it was a fairy tale for Meath. This Meath team won the intermediate All-Ireland year before, beating Westmeath in the final. I watched them. They were sensational. They came close enough for a couple of years prior to that. I know Paul knows well that too, how close they came to winning it. And Cork played Meath in Burr in the group championships, played Meath in Burr in the group championship stages of the All-Ireland last year, and Meath should have won that day. And I saw under Eamon Murray and under their management team, they have a way of playing, but the players buy into it. Everyone knows what they're doing, and everyone pushes and does exactly what they're supposed to do. And if you've got that buy-in from players, look at the results. And I don't for 1 second don't think that Meath are a contender once again this year. It's a different type of pressure on them now this year. Granted, they're champions, there's a target on their back. But I think their experiences of coming close and then winning the intermediate and then winning the All-Ireland is, you can't put a price on that. You can't even bottle it. It's huge. And they are really seriously, they're well coached, they're well prepared, and they're very much in the mix for the All-Ireland Championship again this coming year. As for Cork and Shane Ronayne, once Mourneabbey, whenever that happens, are out of, once their All-Ireland series ends, he's already laid the groundwork for, I think, a different Cork in 2022, different insofar as maybe not the counter-attacking team that we've become used to under Efi Fitzgerald over the last couple of years. He's desperate to bring in a lot of new players. He's eager to introduce a second team, which is kind of like an intermediate or a junior panel, which I think is a very good idea in Cork, because as soon as you come out of minor, There's nothing. I mean, it's only Eric O'Shea and Emer Scally would have broken onto that Cork team in the last number of years, straight from the minors. It's very rare that you get minors straight into a senior team to make an impact. Watch out for that as well. So I think Cork are I would say Cork are in transition, but this is a Cork team, from speaking to the players, that are absolutely determined to come back next year and have a real crack off the All-Ireland. It would be very interesting to see how the National League goes because the teams they're up against. Waterford are never easy. Meath, up in Meath, would be some occasion, and the Dubs. You've seen every time Cork and Dublin play, it's a shootout. So, but it's brilliant for ladies football. I think it's just brilliant that we've so much to look forward to, not just in the All-Ireland series. Like, how will Dublin react? How will Cork come back under new manager? Will Meath be able to repeat it? What about all the other counties that we haven't talked about even today? Galway, Donegal, Mayo,
Armagh.
Monaghan, Armagh. Like, there's so many teams now that saw what Meath did and said, you know what? We can do the same. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. It's brilliant for Meath football and deserving for Meath football. But what it's done for ladies football in the whole, I think, even as a Corkman, and I was those last 5 minutes, I don't ever want to live through again the semi-final. It's brilliant for ladies football. And I think we're going to see, I know we're going to see a much improved championship next year. And that's good news for everybody involved.
Tell you what, I'm absolutely buzzing after all that. Can't wait for what's lying down the tracks. Paul is there taking it all in. He'll be watching the evolution of Cork under Shane Ronayne. I'm sure he'll have a few tweaks up his sleeve as well for Meath, because as we discussed, Paul, before Christmas, same again won't be good enough. There has to be a little bit of evolution, so we look forward to seeing all that unfold. Lads, you're absolutely brilliant with your time. A strange time of the day to be ringing you, but I really appreciate it. Stephen Glennon from the Tuam Herald, thanks for your time. Billy is heading down on Sunday, so I appreciate the coverage, and Ray Ryan will be on the photograph, so look forward to that. Fergal Monaghan from Northern Sound. Fergal, look forward to hearing your dulcet tones over the airwaves on Sunday. Paul Garrigan, all the very best for the year ahead, and once again, thanks for your time. Very good to come on, and thanks for your time with the article in Pell magazine pre-Christmas. And Ger McCarthy. Ger, who are you on duty for? Red FM and a couple of the prints, are you? A
couple of the prints of Red FM, yeah. We'll be doing my live updates throughout the match as well, hopefully, and really looking forward to it. Great
stuff. Lads, great to have you on, and best wishes, and enjoy the games.
Okay.
Yeah.